Welcome to the Business Miracles Podcast. I'm Heather Dominick, founder of businessmiracles.com. Since 2010, I've been training highly sensitive entrepreneurs and leaders from around the globe to work less while making more impact and income by doing things differently. I'm so glad you've joined me. Listen in and get ready for a shift in the way you view yourself, your work, your life. A Business Miracle. This is A Course in Business Miracles, episode number 127, Inside Highly Sensitive Leadership with spiritual success mentor Elona Sanders. Welcome to this special series of the Business Miracles podcast, Inside Highly Sensitive Leadership, where you'll be hearing real stories from real highly sensitives creating real success. In today's episode, I'm so grateful to spend time basking in the beautiful presence of Business Miracles community member Elona Sanders as she shares her energy and wisdom with us. Elona, affectionately called Dr. E, is a personal and spiritual development expert who passionately empowers men and women who are called to lead. Her mission is to help them to thrive in life as they expand their consciousness and divinely align with their true purpose. With more than 40 years of experience as a minister, mentor, and entrepreneur, Elona specializes in teaching spiritual success principles to empower leaders who are ready to embrace, activate, and accelerate their spiritual assignments. Elona is the founder and creator of ElonaSanders.com and Spiritual Success Life LLC, a cutting-edge personal and spiritual development company serving a community of leaders with digital courses, small group transformation training programs, private mentoring, and live in-person gatherings designed to expand conscious awareness and activate divine sovereignty. She also facilitates a weekly live virtual broadcast every Sunday morning via Facebook. I have such deep awe and admiration for Elona and her willingness to always do the work necessary to create healing and to change the story. And I have a sense that you too will really be able to identify with what Elona has to share. I'm so deeply grateful for the long time sacred connection I have with Elona and for the honor of being Elona's mentor, as well as for the privilege of witnessing her ongoing growth and expansion as she continues to do the real work for herself as she leads powerfully in the world from her highly sensitive strengths. Elona, welcome to the Business Miracles podcast and Inside Highly Sensitive Leadership series. I'm so happy to be here with you, and I'm so looking forward to our connection today.
I am too. I am beyond thrilled to be here, and thank you so much for having me.
Beautiful. So I would love for us to just dive right in and start with the fact that you and I have known each other for quite a long time. So we more recently reconnected, but I value the length of our connection so much because you have seen me change and grow over the years, right? And I always think that's just of such value to note and mark, and especially for anyone who's listening, that we don't just come out of the self-employment womb where we might be in any moment, right? So I'd love for you to just share a little bit from your perspective of, what you've seen or what you've experienced from the length of time that we've known each other.
Wow, yes. We've been together for quite some time, and it has been amazing to just watch you grow and evolve as a mentor. And even from day one, I've always told you were just the bomb.com. You were just always awesome and amazing. And I value relationships. And so I'm always looking for long-term relationships. And just to see how you've evolved and how your programs have evolved over the years, it has been consistent, right? We are lifelong learners, and it's just been consistent how you have grown, how you have evolved. And what I appreciate so much is how vulnerable you are and sharing your growth with your community, and how you always bring what you've learned into the community so that we up level as well. And I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate that you just touched on that, because that is so at the heart of my intention. I really just do believe in, kind of pulling back the curtain, if you will, and that it's important to dispel those myths that, there's certain, persons who have it all together. And so that's just always important to me. And it's also really important to me to be passing on what I'm learning and what I'm experiencing in terms of my own evolving in as real time as much as I can, once I've got it clear and set and solid enough to be able to be in teaching form, to make sure that I'm bringing the community with me. So I just really, really value that you see that and that that's important to you. And so along those lines, I would love to hear maybe something that you've recently learned as part of your involvement in the highly sensitive leadership training programs that has made a difference for you and your business and your experience.
Yes, it's just been so much that I have learned. So just to pull out one thing, your teaching of the energy management tools as a core practice, and sometimes it takes a while to get it and to get used to engaging with yourself on a daily basis, using the tools that you have introduced to your community to help us to grow. So quite recently, recommitted to really leaning into the energy management tools. Yes. And really making it a part of what I call my daily spiritual practices. And so I've chosen the auto writing and the OFTU is something to just incorporate daily, because as you teach us, those energy management tools are there to be measurable, trackable, so that we could see where we started, what we were dealing with. And as we use those tools, we can have something to measure our growth, because otherwise the ego mind is always there to tell you nothing's happening, you're not improving, you're still in the same place. But when you can see it, it is a beautiful reminder that you are moving and you are growing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I think that's probably the best recap of the purpose and intention of energy management tools I've ever heard. And it warms my heart because it says that you are listening.
Yes.
So I always appreciate knowing that someone is listening. Yes, exactly. So beautifully said, and really so key and so important for us as highly sensitives at any time, but I would say especially now, right? As we, continue our way through the craziness of these exceptional times. I know that I can speak for myself. I think without energy management, I would be drowning. There's just such an impact of news, information, things that are constantly shifting and changing. It could really be so easy to give in to the doom and gloom, but yet with energy management, it helps keep us above the fray, right? And helps keep us in that space where the nervous system is able to be calm and then able to be tuned in or tapped into that space of miracles, right? Because even when the world is rocking and crazy, we totally have the ability to create what we want for ourselves, right? When we're taking the personal responsibility to manage our energy and be in that space of creation and creativity.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love that you spoke to that. And so that makes me think, one of the things that I always think about with you is what it must be like to be in your community, to be in your flock, with you as a leader. And what would you say that you're able to directly take from your leadership training, and maybe it's energy management or something else, and transfer it and share it with your community? Like what do you receive here in the highly sensitive leadership training program that helps you show up for your people and your clients and your purpose?
Gosh, if not just about everything. Just about everything. And I always share with my community the things that I've learned from you, from my own mentor, because I tell them it's so important to be in community. And just while I'm here touching on that, I really want to say this to you, that over the years, and I connected you back in the boot camp days, which was over a decade ago.
That's right.
But one of the things I appreciated so much about being with you is that the way that you structure your programs is just absolutely amazing. And what I mean by that is you have a feel for your people. I have been in other programs where I've gotten lost in the programs, even back to my days of a senior pastor and going to conferences. I would come home with lots of information. I would be enrolled in a coaching program or whatever. I would get tons of information, but no way of how to implement that. Mm-hmm. And then when I was alone, just with myself, I found that maybe I had a blueprint, but for some reason I could not implement it. And that is where you were so careful to always bring in other support and other help. Even back to the days of, I don't remember the name of the energy management, but Coach Wendy used to lead that. And it was all about helping us get our mindset together so that we could do the program. And so fast forwarding to today in the Business Miracles leadership community, the way that you have that structured, no one can get lost. And I don't want to get emotional here. You cannot fall through the cracks in the program. Your team of coaches, the support team that you have in place for your clients and the students, they're always following up. They're always checking in. If you want to be helped, the help is there. If you want to grow, the support is there. So I just wanted to take a moment to really applaud you that you really have a phenomenal program.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Elona. And again, I just so appreciate hearing what you have to share, because that is my intention, right? I think you named it so well. And I literally think maybe I just wrote almost the exact same words that you just said in an email about when I would go to these like business trainings, right? And it was really just a lot of information overload. And then I would come home, just like you're describing, and would be like, what do I do with all of this? And in writing that I was just creating, I was just recounting that experience is what birthed the process of intuitive planning for me. It's the process that I would go through myself to try to just sift through all of that information, overwhelm. And like you mentioned earlier, now I teach the process of intuitive planning, passing on my experience, all to really support that implementation that you're talking about. I would be, back in the day, I would be involved in these other programs, again, like you're explaining, and just have the experience myself, but watch also like other members in those programs just get lost, right? There was always that energy that I could pick up on as a highly sensitive, the energy of it didn't really matter to who was leading the program if I was there or not. Right? Me as a person, I was more of just like a number, and you were really left to your own devices. And some of us can do that, and some of us can't, right? That there is a greater level of support, of accountability, of instruction that's needed. So it's always so important to me to dispel the myth that only some people can excel in being self-employed, right? But we all can, including those of us who are highly sensitive, but we just need to go about it differently. And a lot of that is that accountability, that support, and not falling through the cracks, as you said. So yeah, I so appreciate that you highlighted that. Thank you.
Yes. And so to speak to the question about what do I bring to my community?
Yes.
I think that where I have grown the most being with you is in showing up, knowing how you want to show up in the world. Yes. And then that whole piece of being visible and vulnerable. Yeah, I've gotten tons of help, and that has really helped me to bring that same kind of teaching into my community. Beautiful. So that as a group, they have a safe and sacred space where they can be open and honest and get the support they need.
Oh my gosh, I am just so thrilled to hear that, because I personally believe that's what creates healing in the world, right? Is for all of us to be able to have a space where it's safe to be seen for who we really are. And with the V and V energy teaching that I share, I always emphasize, that we practice it. We practice being visible. We practice being vulnerable within the community so that we can go out into the world. Yes. And be visible and be vulnerable. Now, recently, I heard you share an amazing phrase of a vow that you had taken and that you have moved through when it comes to visibility. Would you be willing to speak about that a little bit?
Yes. Just to give you just a quick backstory of that, a part of my story, it began when I was maybe 6, maybe 7 years old. I'd say that I was an entrepreneur all my life. So I can remember as early as 8 years old, really being out earning a living for myself at 8 years old. But at 6 or 7 years old, I grew up in a very large family, and my tendency was to wake up early. I would get up, and at that age, I would do the best job of grooming myself I could, and I would shoot out to the world, just so excited to get out and adventure and explore the world. So I'm slipping out of the house. Nobody knows that I'm out. And so at that age, you can imagine I didn't do a very good job of grooming myself. And so immediately when I got out to the world, I was met with revel of, oh, look at you, your face is not clean. Oh, look, your hair is not done. And so in my little 6-year-old mind, immediately the message was internalized. Something's wrong with you. You're not good enough. People don't like you. And so that one encounter with rejection or reveling started that lifelong journey of me hiding and shrinking and always feeling like I'm not good enough. Everyone else in the room is better off than me. And so I took a vow of invisibility, and how I know I took that, and it went back earlier in 2002. I was in a huge ordination affirmation service with Bishop T.D. Jakes in Dallas, Texas. And it was about 1,500 pastors there, but maybe thousands of people in the room. The person that was reading the list of names, as we walked across the stage to get our documents, did an excellent job. And I saw this on the video after I got home. But I noticed that he missed my name. And so when I went back home and watched the video and I pulled out the sheet of paper and was going down the list, trying to figure out, well, why did he miss my name? Heather, I kid you not, he called everyone's name. And right before my name, the last person's name he called, something caught his attention and he looked away. And when he came back, he skipped over my name and continued to call every other name on the list. So when I did inquiry about that, what came to me was You did that, meaning myself.
Mm-hmm.
You ordered that, you called for that. You do not want to be seen.
Mm.
And that started the process of me doing the internal work to start the healing process of being able to be seen for who I am, truly, honestly. And you were a big part of me now knowing who I am, my self-worth, my self-esteem growing and still growing. But I really credit you and your community with a big part of that healing.
Oh my gosh. I appreciate this story so much, Elona. Thank you so much for sharing it and for like such a beautiful telling of it. And I just have a sense that there's many who are listening who can really identify with your story and that powerful phrase of a vow of invisibility. I think what really stands out to me most about the story is your willingness to acknowledge your part in the skipping of your name.
Yes.
And then therefore do the work to create the healing and to change the story.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
To this beautiful new level of visibility that I see you in now, but I see that growing and expanding even more so for you as you continue to do the real work for yourself and to be in the world providing the service that you're here to provide. So much so, I mean, listeners only have audio, but I'll just let everybody know that I said right before you and I started recording, because we're on video right now, like you're such a vision of beauty. It's
wow.
It's like a joy for me. I get to sit here and like stare at you for these minutes that we have together. I feel like I'm getting like an extra gift or something.
Thank you.
So you're so welcome. So much so that, you've really shifted into this beautiful, shining example of visibility. So along those lines, what do you think's next for you? Let me shift that. Actually, not think. What do you know? Where is your heart calling you that you are meant to go and grow next, Elona?
My heart is really calling me into serving and impacting more people, right? Serving and impacting more with less effort, as you're teaching us, but greater impact. Yes. And being able to allow, as what I'm working with now, allowing myself to have help, to not go it alone, to not process in isolation, to not try to grow. I finally really got to the place as I was going through the trainings, right? And I hit a wall when I got to the teams. Remember when I was going through that? I literally hit a wall there and had to stop and go into why there was so much resistance. But I can happily report that I am honestly there where I can say to myself, you must have help. You're not meant to do this alone, and you cannot grow any further until you allow others to come along with you.
Good. I'm so happy to hear this. Yes, because more are really meant to receive your gifts and your impact. And I'm very, very excited. It's a gift that's not meant to be kept in a small box, for sure. So along those lines, Elona, where can people find you and the amazing work that you are bringing to the world?
On Facebook, I am Elona Sanders. And on Instagram, I am Elona Sanders as well. And they could also visit my website at elonasanders.com.
Yes. Can you talk a little bit about the special something that you do on Sundays?
Oh, yes. On Sundays at 10 a.m., I go live on Facebook in the Spiritual Success Life community. And it's just open to anyone who wants to tune in. And it's all about personal and spiritual development. I am a retired senior pastor, for those that know that language. And I've transitioned out of mainstream religion into more of personal and spiritual empowerment, more freedom, more expansion, not being locked into a box of doctrinal interpretation of sacred texts or anything like that. So that's what we do. And it's just a beautiful time of empowerment for about 30 minutes on Sunday morning.
Yeah. It is amazing. It is amazing. So I often can't make it live, but I sneak in and I catch some of the live recordings, and it's just so beautiful and inspiring and uplifting. I really, really recommend that you find and connect in with Elona, and especially her Sunday offering, which is just so beautiful. So, Elona, as we get ready to wrap for today, what would you say to someone who's listening and maybe even they're realizing as they're listening that they've taken that vow of invisibility, but yet they know in their heart that they're really meant to be in the world, serving through their purpose, but they're really questioning if they can do what you've done so far? What would you have to say to them?
Well, two things very quickly. Number one thing that I remind myself often is that the whole world is a stage, as the Shakespearean writer says, and everyone is merely playing a part. So I share with my students as well. We are all dressing up in our costume to go on stage, the stage of life, and play a role. So the person that you are comparing yourself to, being intimidated by or threatened by, they're merely playing a role, just like you. They may do it well, they may do it not so well, but they're playing a role. And that's something that I keep in mind every day. Show up, put your clothes on, put that costume on, and go do your role. And number two, I would really recommend that they get in community and get a strong mentor. And if they're highly sensitive, like you and I are, then they really need to be in community with someone who can help guide them in the process. You're not meant to try to process this alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so well said. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, your wisdom. I have just such deep awe and admiration for you, and I'm so grateful for our connection. Thank you, Elona.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure.
And for everyone else, thanks for listening. Until next time. Thank you for being a part of this Business Miracles podcast episode and for beginning to dip your toe into the journey of highly sensitive leadership training. If you are ready to truly use your sensitivities as strengths in all parts of your work and life, I invite you to connect for a one-on-one chat. You will experience being deeply listened to, and together we'll get a sense of whether the highly sensitive leadership training programs are the best next step for you and your highly sensitive journey at this time. Just go to www.claritycall.com to schedule a conversation. We so look forward to connecting with you. Talk to you soon.